Mongoose Jake here, and as you can see, I'm back in the Panther, which is my favorite tank in the game, bar none. But it's been a bit since I put a video out, and I wanted to feature a back-to-back showcase of my favorite tank in battles where I basically had to do everything possible to try to drag out a win. The teams have not been good, and it puts a lot on the shoulders of the few or even one who are trying to actually win instead of running around with their heads cut off. Now, I know a number of times everybody has been in this situation where your team falls apart. You have, it seems, a endless horde of enemies coming at you, and almost an impossible task of trying to dig out a win from the bottomless pit of despair of loss. And this game, you can already see, is not starting out well. And as soon as you've got enough experience, you'll understand when you look at the map and you see the deployment, you're already saying to yourself, uh-oh, this is gonna be a bad fight. In this case, I'm taking my place as the top tier medium, going up front. The Hellcat, unfortunately, Super Hellcat, he pushed up too far, and with his speed, I wasn't able to support him just yet. But also have to laugh at that enemy Cromwell. Spam premium and charge forward. That's his motto. And I'm just trying to work myself into a better position here alongside of the VK-3002M, which very, very good tank, by the way. And if I can get kind of dug in, the Panther, while top tier, is fairly durable. Of course, in the face of premium, it's not going to hold up as well. Panther is one of those tanks where premium spam really hurts it, because it has enough armor to resist a lot of the AP that people would be firing at it from mid-tier tanks, even up to tier 8. It can sometimes get a bounce against some tier 8 guns if they're not shooting premium. The moment everybody switches to premium, the Panther's turret becomes basically butter, and then the upper plate even becomes a fairly routine pen, such as this P-43 Bis. He's able to punch through with quick aim shots or non-aim shots, because he's just poking out and shooting. But we're kind of turning the tide here, especially now that the AT-8 showed up. And one thing I didn't even realize is we had a heavy, and he died down in the low ground. I don't know why the heavy decided to come this way. That was I believe that was the KV-2. I honestly was paying more attention to who I had moving up with me, rather than the ones who were sitting in the low ground, just absolutely getting picked off. I was thinking of pushing the AT-8 further forward, but you can see I have this sense of somebody should be coming around this way. It's a mistake of the enemies not to. And if we don't plan for it, of course that's when they're going to. So I'm actually pushing the dead Cromwell down into a good position so I can cover the 3 tanks who decided to continue pushing. I actually turned my Panther around and looked, and I was like, wait a minute. They're not going to drive past a P-43 Bis, leaving the P-43 at their rear. And then I looked again and I said, yes, they are. They're just going to continue on while leaving an active enemy behind them. It's like, brilliant. I know he was going to be making this move. I missed my first shot, but he bounces his. So I'm going to get to finish him off. Premium spam does not always equal winning. in each engagement. They're still winning the battle here, but he's dead. He waited a little too long to make his move is what it was. He allowed me to get back up on top of the hill. And I had been hesitant to charge down here because I thought I would be getting shot by the Super Chaffee and the E8. But they've actually went back, and now that Type 58, he's basically rode off at this point. He might get one of the two, which it looks like he got the E8 and then got taken out by the EBR. But the reason I was needing to get back was quite simply, look at the south. We have 2 Cheeto SPs and a T-28 HTC, and then followed up by a KB-3. These 4 tanks are going to be coming back, and here is a very, very good cubbyhole. If you're in the southeastern base, and you're in a last-ditch, holdout defense, go to this spot. Go to this spot. It offers a bit of concealment and protection from both directions, actually. More so from this way. And it's a little more resistant to artillery than if you go where the EBR was. My allied EBR, that is. And that's a little bit of foreshadowing. You see, he's out in the open. He has terrain he can work with. And that was an unfortunate bounce. It should have went right through the side armor there. Yeah, and there's the EBR getting taken out by artillery. Very unfortunate, but it happened. So now I am alone. Because the AT-8, he's so far out of position. He's surrounded by much more mobile vehicles. He can maybe take one out, but eventually he's going to get surrounded and circled. And especially with artillery still in play. And that's the end of the game for me, with just over 4,000 damage and almost 2,000 damage blocked. But as I foretold, he's going to take out one. And with artillery still in play, and we're being capped, he has no chance of winning the game. He actually took out 2 of them. And then the artillery got him. So that was a loss. But it was a over 4,000 damage dealt and almost 2,000 damage blocked loss. Basically everything I could possibly do as a top tier Panther, I tried to do. Tried to push a flank where the mediums would typically go. Came back to defend when it was absolutely obvious. And there was no reason for me to come back earlier, because then I think my teammates who were still pushing the eastern flank, they would have just died to the P-43 BIS. So I came back. I did everything basically the way you would if you were to replay it again. You just would have needed a few teammates to perform a little bit better, because that battle was pretty close in the balance. If I had another top tier tank who had performed even halfway decently, I think that could have been a win. So here we are again, top tier. I played a whole bunch of games in my Panther and had a really good time. I was playing them all by myself, and sometimes if I want to play World of Tanks and have fun, I just dig out the Panther and play it, and I don't care what anybody thinks of that. Tier 7's a very fun tier. That's kind of the lower part of upper tier and the upper part of mid tier. It's a nice happy balance where there's not too many overpowered vehicles that you're going to face until you see a bunch of BZ-176 and Progettos. And yes, the Progetto 46 is a bit overpowered, considering it has the speed of the fastest mediums. It has the auto reloading gun, and it going up against something like a Panther, it takes a lot to beat them. Very satisfying when you do, though. Because the only thing it doesn't have is armor. But that's a whole different topic. But Tier 7 is a very kind of fun and happy place to play. You get, especially if you get a couple of top tier games like this. But again, I am not sitting at the back in a Panther. And the people who say that a Panther has to, they do not know how to play the Panther properly. Now, if it's tier 9, yes. But it's a sliding scale, kind of. If you're top tier, you better be up front. The Panther's a very good vehicle, regardless of what most people believe. And it can spot, it can brawl in a different way. Most people think brawling means that you have a big damage gun and tough armor, but the Panther does it a different way, and I like its way better. It has a very, very consistent gun that spits out a lot of damage over time, and some people that can cause for them to panic when they come under withering fire. It's a bit different than just taking one single big hit. And in the same amount of time, the Panther may deal just as much or more damage than something with a big gun. It's just you have to keep people pinned in front of you. Now, I've already got that nagging feeling. I keep trying to tell the Panzer 4H beside me to get back. He's somewhat kind of trying to use the terrain, but he's not using concealment at all. And I have the target spotted for him. He does not need to be up front. It was actually a pretty lucky shot to track the Hellcat, and he was really fast on the reflex to fix that. And there's my nagging suspicion at kicking in again. I knew that the Thunderbolt was probably going to push once the Panzer IV backed off. And yes, I absolutely love tracking people. And you can see that was what I first went for. You get people trapped in the open. That is a free target for your teammates. And no matter what, teammates will shoot at free targets if you give it to them. Doesn't matter what their stats are, what their capabilities are. If you give them a stationary target, your teammates will help you. And that's why I won't ever run XVM. I don't care what my teammate stats are. I want them to just play as a team. And you've got a few people who, obviously, something went horribly wrong over there on the northern flank. And I don't know how our T-29 died so quickly. That should have been a feast for him. But so be it. We work with what we've got. Now, looking back in hindsight, you might critique me as sitting here for too long. However, the biggest issue is that if I abandon my position, now we're going to be fighting two flanks, but I probably should have moved a little sooner. I was playing off the fact that the Hellcat was spotted going over to my flank here, and the T-34. They're not the biggest threats, of course. It's the artillery. And yes, LEF is a tier 5. LEF will typically outdamage most tier 6 and tier 7 artillery. And I had that in the back of my mind, and I probably should have moved a little sooner. But I didn't wait too long overall. But if I had moved a little sooner, might have saved a teammate or two. At least one, and that would have been good. But now you can see I've got this nagging suspicion, and yes, my thoughts were proved true, that the Hellcat and the T-34 would indeed move around. And I'm thinking, I need to get rid of this Hellcat. He's obviously aware, he's tactically capable, but now the T-34 presents himself. Now I see the Hellcat immediately, and I already know he's going to be my biggest issue. So I turn to focus in on him, and of course the LAF then hits me. Getting shot by the AT-8, but he has such a small damage gun that I can eat a couple hits. Now I don't want to give him freebie shots, so I do drive through the buildings, trying to keep his shots out of line. And the LAF, you can see why I was conscious of him the whole time. Those things are hilariously broken. And I even have one from a long time ago. And of course, he's able to spot me and fire and hit me instantly. The view range, the quick aiming, the quick firing, it's a bit too much. I own one, and I bought one way back when they were, if I remember right, it was actually a tier 4 originally, before all the artillery rework. And I got mine for like 500 gold or 750 gold when they had it as a half off for gold sale. Yeah, imagine that. Imagine if they had LEF now for under 1,000 gold. Because that's what it was way back when. This was like a year into me playing. And I was like, oh yeah, premium artillery. I'll give it a try. It's only under 1,000 gold. And now they're hilariously broken, even as it is. But I actually managed to take him out. Now there still is one artillery in play. And you notice I didn't get shot by him while down below going after the LEF. But I can't worry about him right now. I have to reset, at least reset the cap, or maybe kill one. But now I do have to worry about him because cap's reset, I'm spotted, I should be getting shot. Right now, artillery should shoot at me. And I need to work on getting them off the cap. Now, I switched because I'm worried about the cap. I could have finished off that VK right there. Now I get a little unlucky that he gets into cover just as I have my next shot. I needed to finish off both. But now, of course, both of them are one-shottable. Now, I am one-shottable for the VK. The VK 3001P has the 88 L56. That deals roughly, listed stat-wise is 220 damage, but you'd say it roughly deals at least 200 damage. And it has 156 pen, so if he were to, or 100, has about 146? I'll have to check my stats again. But it's enough that if he catches me sideways, he'll have a pretty sure ability to take me out. And with it looking like I have a chance to pull this out into a win, I'm going to take a very wide berth away from the cap, because of course they pulled back into the buildings, and there's a pretty good chance they're going to be both still facing exactly where they were, and then I need to come up here and I might get a freebie back shot into one of them, if not both, if I play it right and I stay hidden. And I also have this nagging idea in the back of my mind that the enemy artillery, he hadn't fired at me in a long time. He's probably been driving. And I was right. He actually was driving right to where I was. There goes. I got a very unlucky shot on his tracks there. And he did a pretty good blind fire. It landed about 20 meters ahead of me, but that was kind of hilarious that he showed up right where I was and then tried to blind fire and nearly did a good job, because the M41 actually could take me out pretty easily as well with a direct hit. Our LEF was loving the fact that I bounced off their LEF and then I bounced off the tracks of that M41. Now, I'm getting very unfortunate here that I'm on kind of a bump. And they're not reacting very well either, because I was spotted. But now, I'm just looking for an opportunity to take out the VK and then motor in, so I can eat a shot easily. And I'm thinking, I've got this. aim in on the tracks, track them and reset the cap, get behind them, and it's a win. A little lower damage than the first game, but it's a win. And I will always take a win over a high damage result. I'm the opposite of a lot of people. A lot of people, they want their damage at all costs. I want the win. Winning is fun, especially in a team game. It feels good to actually be able to pull out a win for the team. But of course, both were ace games. This one, though, has a few more medals, including Pascucci's and Steel Wall and Defender and High Caliber and Top Gun. And I ran through all of my AP and got into my APCR for the first time that I can ever remember in my Panther. Ended up with almost 1,700 base experience. And even despite all those shots, I still made good credits. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.